when we think about our hunter-gatherer ancestors, really important to be able to have quick reactions to what could be threatening. However, in our modern day and age, most of the situations that we're encountering are really not life-threatening ones. And that's why our triggers, when unprocessed, actually get us into trouble, right? Because what happens is that if we get triggered by an event and we get really angry, or we decide to run away, or we get really dejected, what happens is that it's out of proportion to what the situation actually is, right? And so when we react out of proportion to what the situation is, then we create complicated, unwanted, messy situations that result in further conflict. And if we're not able to see this, then we just keep on the same wheel of suffering again and again. Now, what's important here is that we allow ourselves to feel what we're feeling. So we don't do the same thing that we did in the past, which is to repress the feeling. Otherwise, we're not really dealing with the trigger. So we have to find this delicate balance of allowing ourselves to fully experience what we're feeling without any judgment, right? Because we need to feel in order to heal. And there's no such thing as a wrong feeling, right? So it's not wrong to feel angry. It's not wrong to feel sad. And it's not wrong to feel afraid. As I said before, where we get into trouble is when we react from these emotions out of proportion to what the event actually is, right? So we're going to talk about how do we get into this place of being able to be in a conscious feeling relationship with ourselves, to allow ourselves to feel what's going on. And this will bring us to the subject of attunement, right? So let's give an example of attunement. I'm going to reach over here and have a guitar. Okay. So we all kind of know what it's like for something to be in tune and out of tune, right? So this is the guitar when it's in tune. Right? How does that feel and how does that sound? There's a sense of harmony and the sense of balance. We just kind of feel this sense of ease, right? But what happens if I kind of mess with the strings? One's a bit too loose, and the other one I make really tight, okay? And I'm going to play that same chord for you again. Ooh, that was a bit painful, right? Yeah? So this is what happens when we're out of attunement, right? Literally, the strings that animate our nervous system, right, are not tuned to the right pitch because we have these thoughts and images and feelings that are going on that are making us feel either too tight in our body and in our minds, or making us feel kind of depressed and really loose. Right? So why is it that we get into this state? Well, this all takes us back to our early childhood experience. So some time ago, I was introduced to a Harvard study that expresses, I think, very succinctly of what we need for healthy childhood development. I'm just going to read it for you here. So this study says that essential condition for healthy childhood development is the presence of nurturing, attuned, non-stressed, non-depressed parenting caregivers. Okay? So how many people got that? I'm sure you didn't get it. I'm certain that I didn't get it. And if you look out the world, very few people did. So that's pointing us to the fact that actually having truly attuned caregivers is a very rare thing in the world. And why is this important for us now? And what does it relate to our triggers? Well, there's this really interesting study that Daniel Siegel did. And he pointed out that the infant uses the mature functions of the adult brain to regulate its own brain states, right? So the parent who's holding the child and go, aw, how are you feeling? Aw, you're feeling hurt, you're feeling sad, right? Is at the same time letting them know that it's okay, we're gonna get through this together. And that when the child sees and feels this, they are able to educate their own nervous system to say, yeah, it is okay that I'm feeling this. It's okay, it's not overwhelming because I know that I'm going to get through it because I'm able to use the healthy, regulated nervous system of a caregiver to carry me through. Now, if we didn't have that growing up, what happens is we lose this precious learning opportunity on how to feel safe with whatever it is that's arising for us, right? And to be present to that. So we need to retrain ourselves to be able to do that. So attunement on a basic level is getting into a place of being on the same wavelength, right? Being on the same wavelength with what it is that we're experiencing. And in the process of doing that, we come back into our parasympathetic nervous system, right? And getting on the same wavelength is something that we get, just being out in the world with our friends. We can know when people are on the same wavelength at us, that they're picking up what we're putting down, that we feel this sense of resonance and connection. And we can get a sense of when people aren't on our wavelength, right? Well, there's this part of us just that feels that this person doesn't really get us. So what's important here is that we really get ourselves, right? We get on our own wavelength. And this is super important. And you can't quite fake it, right? There was this double TV experiment that was done with children. Really interesting. They had infants in a room and they had their parents there on a live feed with them. And the parents would make facial gestures mirroring their reaction to their children's facial gestures. And the kids were happy because they could see that their parents were there and giving them live attuned feedback to what was going on for them. And then what they did is that they stopped the live feed and they just kept it playing as a recording. And very quickly, the children started to get upset because somewhere inside of them, they knew that even though it was their parent, it wasn't really attuned to what they were feeling in the moment. And that made them upset inside, right? So what happens within ourselves is that if we're not able to tune in on some level to what's happening in our own inner experience, we begin to feel disconnected. We begin to feel out of tune, out of balance. And that's when our emotions, our reactions overwhelm us, right? And because there's no safe place to be able to feel it fully, either we're going to fight, we're going to flee, we're going to freeze, or we're going to fake, right? So attunement's really important. We're going to go through an exercise together to get into this feeling state. So again, I invite you to find a comfortable seated position, just relaxing the shoulders, lengthening through the spine, and coming back to our natural breath. So remembering the first part of recognizing where there is tension in the body by simply scanning the body and noticing wherever there's tension, bringing attention there, relaxing it. And if you find it hard to get into the moment, use the anchor of the breath. So noticing the rise and fall of the chest, the sensation of the breath moving in and out of the nostrils. And once you've caught that feeling of coming gently into this present moment, starting to relax the tension in the body, I want you to bring to mind some situation that's really bothered you recently. Some event that you know has triggered you and you felt some pretty uncomfortable emotions. And as you think about this event, you might start to notice a certain emotion that happens in your body. And the tension starts to rise. Maybe your heart rate gets faster. Certain images or thoughts start to come to your mind. And all you're going to do is simply allow them to be here without judgment. Again, just like you're greeting an old friend, just welcoming it here, allowing your experience to be here without judgment, creating space inside your body and in your mind for you to experience fully whatever is happening for you. It's safe to feel. It's safe to feel. can use this mantra if it helps you, remembering that it's safe to feel. Whenever you're ready, gently opening the eyes and tuning into what's happening in the body. You might have felt a rush or surge of energy or feeling come through. You might still be feeling it somewhat, and just allow the feeling to be here. There's no such thing as a wrong feeling. How does it feel to give space for whatever arises in you? In the next lesson, what we're going to do is we're going to inquire now into what's really going on beneath the surface of the feeling itself. Okay? And this is a really important part of giving us the space so that we can respond instead of react to situations. So join me in the next lesson as we explore this.